It all started with love. Elizabeth saw Ethan as her sanctuary, a kind man with a gentle smile who promised to be her haven. She threw herself into the role of the perfect wife. His comfort, his joy, his peace were her mission. But she didn't take into account that another woman already reigned in his world, his mother, Charlotte. Charlotte saw her daughter-in-law not as a family member, but as a threat to her influence over her son, and so she began a war. At first it was innocent jabs at the table. "Oh, Elizabeth, are you making pasta again? Ethan loves my recipe, I'll show you. If you're handy, of course." Then came caring advice in front of guests. "Darling, don't wear that red dress, it looks cheap on your pale skin. Ethan, don't you think?" Ethan only smirked, hugging his mother by the shoulders. "Mum, come on. Lizzie isn't offended. She knows you're joking." His laughter rang in Elizabeth's ears like counterfeit money. Her pain, her embarrassment, her tears, everything became a family joke. She was a servant not only for Charlotte, but also for his convenience, quiet, submissive, and untroubled. The turning point came on Charlotte's anniversary. A little tipsy, she raised a toast. "To my son, who, despite his less-than-ideal choice, remains the best. Thank you for giving me such boring grandchildren." The children, by the way, were silently staring at their plates. Elizabeth's gaze met Ethan's. In his eyes, she again saw only a plea. "Don't make a scene. Laugh." She didn't cry that night. She stared at the ceiling, and something shifted inside her. Love evaporated, leaving behind a cold, clear emptiness. If she was a servant, she would receive her wages. If she was a joke, she would become the sharpest and most dangerous. She stopped arguing. She began to agree. "You're right, Charlotte. I'm learning a lot from you." She listened attentively to all the harmless stories Charlotte told about her friends and relatives. She memorized their weaknesses, their financial secrets, their betrayals. With the money she'd put aside for a rainy day, which had already arrived, she hired a stylist. She changed her hairstyle and wardrobe. She bought one but impeccably fitting black dress. She didn't just change her look, she changed her gaze. A calm, icy confidence appeared in her eyes, one that couldn't be dismissed as hysteria. The first blow, quiet. At another dinner party, when Charlotte began her rant about bad taste, Elizabeth gently, with a slight smile, interjected, "Charlotte, you are so perceptive. By the way, how is your friend Cynthia doing since that unpleasant incident with the bridge club? I heard her husband found out something interesting about her playing partner." A dead silence fell. Charlotte turned pale. She realised that her unarmed target had suddenly read her secret files. Ethan sided with his mother, trying to reason with his wife, saying it was wrong to act this way. Mum's blood pressure had spiked. She'd even called an ambulance. In the morning, the ungrateful daughter-in-law would have to apologise. But Elizabeth had her own way. That morning, she hired the best divorce lawyer. The lack of a prenuptial agreement and the presence of 2 young children left her with the right to a portion of the marital property and alimony. Furthermore, the house was deeded by her parents. On the day she filed for divorce, she invited Ethan and Charlotte to their home, her home. She stood before them in that same black dress, her posture unapproachable. "Ethan, you always made a joke of my tears. Will you laugh at this now?" And she placed the folder with the divorce papers on the table. Charlotte, you saw me as a servant. Congratulations, your servant quits. And he takes with him his respect, his life, and half of everything you thought was yours. Ethan tried to laugh. Lizzie, darling, what's all this drama? But the laughter caught in his throat. For the first time, he saw not his sweet, docile Lizzie, but a cold, beautiful, and utterly invulnerable stranger. A predator they had forged with their own neglect. Elizabeth left the house without looking back. She didn't flee a victim. She left a victor, taking with her what mattered most, her old self to bury, and her new self to start anew. Revenge wasn't about ruining their lives, but about finally, irrevocably building her own.